did wanna make a video on Valorant, but then Riot came up with the teaser that a new region will be joining Legends of Runeterra. We already knew this from all the data mining. We know that at the very least, Bilgewater and Targon would be joining Legends of Runeterra. But with the official release teaser, there is the tiny chance that Riot will release another cinematic. And I don't want to run into the issue where I wouldn't be fast enough with covering them. So without further ado, let's have a look at the Ionian cinematic, titled The Lesson. The cinematic begins with a shot that may look familiar to you, and that's probably because this seems to be an altered version of the famous Art of Ionia. This was one of the first pieces on Ionia that we got, and the scene in this cinematic seems to be heavily inspired by it. The place is simply called Navori Province, which means that it is right there in the center, but we don't know where exactly it is. You see, in the other cinematics at least we knew the name of that specific place, but we didn't know where that specific place was. Here, we know where Navori is, but for no reason, this time we don't actually get the specific point. Anyway, two interesting things to point out here. First of all, at the very right, you can see how the cliffs are carved into strange forms. But that may not be because Ionians themselves would be carving the stones. This is likely the Ionian spirit, who represents nature, doing whatever it wants with the environment. Remember, the land of Ionia is alive, and trees and even the very earth can move around to respond to what's happening. If you behave and if you treat nature well, it will help you in return. In other cases, nature of Ionia can actually hurt you. The other thing I wanted to point out here is the little tree in the middle. If you have already seen the cinematic, you know what is about to happen. But what's cool is that you can see the little tree in the background, and you can even see the small kid chopping it. Of course, the two main characters of this cinematic are Shen and Akali, with Shen having quite a different voice. I don't think that's the case because there would be a different voice actor, but I think it's because Shen's voice is so old. It was literally recorded about 10 years ago. So now when you have the voice actor talking again 10 years later, it obviously sounds different. Anyway, since Shen is still Akali's teacher, even though we don't know if this is happening before or after the entire Z comic. It could literally be before the Z comic, because Shen and Akali were traveling together, or after the comic. Because there, when Zed left, Shen and Akali were left together, so I have no idea when this is happening. Either way, here Shen is teaching Akali a lesson. He asked her what would happen if an outsider hurt Ionia. Akali questions if this is really a lesson, and Shen says that it is more of a test, by which he hints that he knows what is about to happen. There are two more interesting details in this very shot. First of all, Shen's eyes are blue, just a detail for your fanfictions. But notice how Akali's clothing is painted so that it matches her tattoo. I have no idea if that was intentional, but it looks cool. And then we get a shot of a young Noxian cutting down an Ionian tree. As the tree gets cut, it is bleeding out green sap, which is supposed to indicate that the tree is alive. If you cut it, it bleeds. Another cool detail in this shot, that Twitter pointed out about 1,000,000 times, is the way Akali's hair is trimmed. You know, it's cool, but I don't need to see 1,000,000 tweets about it. As Akali puts on a mask because she's getting ready to attack, she points out that the tree the Noxian was cutting down was a guardian tree. The cinematic then doesn't really explain what a guardian tree is, but from what is about to happen, at least we can guess. And as Akali mentions that she's going to teach the Noxian a lesson, Shen questions if she's going to do it with her steel, by which he means that maybe she can tell the Noxian without hurting him. Or rather, there is a way to show him. And as Akali goes in to stop the Noxian, but not hurt him, we get a closer shot at the animal that was dragging the Noxian carriage. There's not much to say here, honestly. I don't think we have seen this animal before, although it might show up somewhere in Legends of Runeterra. But it seems to have square eyes, so it is actually a goat. What is interesting is that the carriage in the background doesn't actually look Noxian. So I wonder if this kid is actually working for the Navori Brotherhood, or perhaps there are more outsiders in Ionia. Maybe Noxians are not the only invaders of these lands. And as the kid gets scared when Akali gets closer, it is interesting to see that even the clothing that the kid has doesn't really fit Noxians. I would understand the black and the red, but that turquoise blue looks more Ionian. On top of that, it somewhat matches the colors of the Navori Brotherhood, which makes me wonder why did Shen call this kid an outsider? The Navori Brotherhood is from within Ionia, so that description wouldn't fit. And then we get a shot of the tree bleeding out onto a pedestal. And as it cuts back to Shen and Akali, it is very cool to see how startled Akali is. And she looks afraid because she doesn't know what is about to happen, while Shen is very calm. That could be because he is the Eye of Twilight, therefore he needs to have a neutral standing on anything that is happening, so he always needs to be calm. Or it is because he knows what is about to happen. And then we can see that as the Guardian tree was cut down, it awoke the Guardian of this place. Again, the story doesn't really explain what the Guardian tree is about. I assume the Guardian tree is there so that when people cut down trees, there is the chance that you cut down a special tree that is going to awaken an Ionian Guardian. With that said, that means that you can just cut down any other tree and just leave this one standing, so I have no idea what kind of protective system this is. But that's not the point. What's interesting is what Shen does to Akali. Using the spirit magic, he's able to link with Akali, and he's able to make her see what he sees. Now, since as you'll see, Akali gets confused by what is happening, that makes me think that this is happening before the Z comic, because Akali seems a bit more inexperienced. Anyway, as Shen lends his magic with Akali, for the first time ever, we can finally see what the spirit realm looks like. Now, here it is very important that you shouldn't mix the Death Realm, the Shadow Realm, and the Spirit Realm. The Shadow Realm with Nocturne is a magical pocket on its own, so you can safely ignore that for now. But some people confuse the Death Realm and the Spirit Realm. The Death Realm where Mordekaiser is pretty much the afterlife. That's where you go when you die. The Spirit Realm, however, is another plane of existence on Runeterra. And this is what it looks like. As you can see, anything that is magically affected is highlighted in the Spirit Realm. So for example, it is cool to see that both of Shen's weapons are linked to the Spirit Realm. And you can also see that Akali's tattoos have some magical values. But I have no idea why her hair is glowing. Or her makeup actually. That's probably just an artistic decision. But then as the shot zooms out, Akali sees little seeds on the ground. These seeds are glowing green. We can assume that it's because seeds indicate life. While on the other side, the Guardian is linked with the kid with some kind of red magic. And that's because the kid cut down a tree, and therefore the red magic is indicating death. That's probably the balance that Shen is talking about. And I assume that this is the visual indicator of balance. Some things represent life, and the others represent death. Another interesting thing that you can see in the Spirit Realm is that the Guardian is somehow empowered from above. Now, this could be one of two things. First of all, many times it was confirmed how magic works on Runeterra. Just like we have water currents in the oceans and wind currents in the air, Runeterra also has magical currents. And as these magical currents pass around Runeterra, different places on the planet get empowered more and others less. So the Guardian being empowered from above might be from one of those magical currents. But what is more likely is that this is the magic of the forest. Shen even mentions that the Guardian is empowered by the hatred of the land. So I assume even though there is no clear visual indication, the magic of the place probably goes up and then it falls down into the Guardian. Otherwise this would have to be some kind of celestial magic. That's why it would be coming down. But I don't have the right theory for that. So let's just keep going. Just in case one of you have a good memory when it comes to runes. If you have a look at the belly of the Guardian, you can see that there is some kind of a magical symbol. It looks a bit familiar, but I don't think we have seen anything like this before. Shen then told Akali what is happening here, how the Guardian is empowered by the anger of the forest, and how the kid awakened its Guardian. But Akali wouldn't let the forest have its way with the kid, and so she went in to stop it. And as she gets smacked away, we can actually see Shen use the shield that he's using in-game. But while there it is making him dodge all attacks. Here you can see that it is disabling gravity. Maybe that's why he's dodging attacks in-game. It is just very easy for him to move around. But there is a really weird oversight here. As far as we know, Shen is supposed to have two blades. One blade empowered with spiritual magic, which is the one Shen is using to kill spirits in the spirit realm, and the other one is a blade of physical steel. That's the one he's using to kill creatures in the physical realm. So now you may be asking, what's the third blade doing here? And I don't actually have an answer for you. Maybe we were wrong about this the entire time. Maybe Shen has two physical blades and one spirit blade, but I have no idea where he would be carrying it. I mean, with that said, in-game he technically also always has three blades. He always has the two on his back, and he has the one spirit blade floating around. But the lore never described him like this. I don't think it ever actually mentioned a third blade. I might be wrong, in which case burn me in the comment section. At least I'll know. But in summary, this shot actually confused me. Anyway, as Shen says that the balance must be maintained, by which he essentially saying that the kid must die for hurting nature. You can see how calm he remains. But Akali still refuses to accept that, and she goes in with a different strategy. Instead of attacking the Guardian, she's just distracting it, so that she can lift up the carriage and get the kid out. But when she realized that the plan is not going to work, she had to figure out something else. And that's where the seeds from the beginning of the cinematic come in. Akali saw that the seeds were glowing green, because they were indicating life, while the kid was drowning in red, because it just caused death. So Akali realized that they could make a deal with the Ionian spirit. The kid just took down a tree, by which it took a life from the environment. So to pay it off, the kid could plant down a seed and make a new life. That's what's happening here. And to water the seed, Akali pulled out some kind of a seal. Now, I don't think we have seen any of these symbols, including the monkey. Which makes me wonder, why does a monkey seal make water? The monkey could be the Vastaya of the Shimon tribe, which is what Wukong is. But considering what Wukong's theme is, the Shimon tribe might be linked to some kind of a stone magic instead. So I have no idea why the monkey is linked to water. But right after that, right as the Guardian was about to strike, the deal was made. And we get a brief shot of the spirit realm again. And there you can see that the red link that was representing death slowly turned to green. Which, I don't wanna be mean, but life and death are supposed to be in balance. That's what the equilibrium is all about. So technically, if the red link with death was imbalanced, then obviously the green with life is just an extreme on the other side. I could be nitpicking, but I think there should be a third color in the middle. Otherwise, none of these are actually balanced. What is also peculiar is that in the last shot from the spirit realm, you can see that the Guardian is not empowered by the power from above anymore. This could be just a little oversight, or it could be because whatever was powering the Guardian up was already done with filling it with magic. Anyway, that's an unimportant detail. And in the last scene of the cinematic, we can see that a new Guardian tree was planted, so balance was maintained, and Shen used his spirit link to make the tree grow faster, so that the Guardian would have a tree to slumber under again. And this essentially made Shen's lesson a success. Because Akali didn't hurt anyone, she technically didn't use her steel on the kid. And instead, she showed the kid the lesson. And in the very last shot of the cinematic, we can see the Navori province. There are a couple of interesting landmarks here. On the very right, you can see strange buildings that were actually shown in the book Realms of Runeterra. If I have the picture, I will show it on the screen right now. A similar building is shown on the left of the tree. It is also one of the pointy ones. But on the right side, closer to the tree, you can see tiny pillars with a building on top of a cliff. And I do believe that this is the original art of the Placidium of Navori. It is so tiny it is really hard to tell, but considering where we are, I think somewhere right there behind the tree is where the capital city is. And with the little alpaca goat at the bottom, that's how the cinematic ends. Honestly, this one was super interesting because for the first time ever, we actually got to see the spirit realm. Yes, there were some inconsistencies, such as why is Akali's hair glowing, but I'm willing to pass it just because it is a reference to KDA. I bet so many people got excited by that scene alone. But for now, that is going to be it for me going on a rampage covering all the cinematics. Hopefully there will not be another cinematic, which means that finally we have some time to do some proper lore and even some news. So expect either a video on the Valorant lore, or the Ionian story that appeared on Universe, or after a month we can finally do an episode of Rift news. Because, you know, Volibear. With that said, there are tons of new cards in Legends of Runeterra, and all of them have lore that is going to be canon for the world. Maybe with one exception. Who gave Poro a gun? Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other League facts and stories? And did you know that we have neat mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.